You think you know how Rasputin died? Cyanide, bullets, drowning, the unkillable monk who just wouldn't quit. It's one of history's most infamous tales, a legend whispered with a shiver and a chuckle. The story goes that Grigory Rasputin, the controversial mystic advisor to the Romanovs, was practically indestructible, enduring a relentless barrage of assassination attempts that would fell any ordinary mortal. Poisoned with enough cyanide to kill a dozen men, shot multiple times at close range, bludgeoned, then finally bound and thrown into the icy Neva River, only to still be alive and fighting when he hit the water. It's a truly epic death, a testament to a man supposedly touched by dark powers, or perhaps just possessed of an incredible will to live. It's the kind of story that sticks with you. But here's the thing about historical legends. The deeper you dig into the actual historical record, the less sense they tend to make. Because the real mystery of Rasputin's death isn't if he was unkillable. It's why the official version of events, the one told by the men who claimed to have killed him, is a chaotic mess of self-serving lies and wildly incompatible eyewitness accounts. And it only gets stranger. The plot to kill Rasputin emerged from the highest echelons of Russian society in 1916. Russia was crumbling under the strain of World War I, and many blamed Rasputin's perceived influence over Empress Alexandra for the country's woes. Leading this patriotic conspiracy were three prominent figures: Prince Felix Yusupov, one of the wealthiest men in Russia, Vladimir Purishkevich, an ultra-conservative politician, and Grand Duke Dmitry Pavlovich, cousin to Tsar Nicholas II. They genuinely believed that removing Rasputin was the only way to save the monarchy and indeed Russia itself from what they saw as his corrupting influence. A noble cause, perhaps, if not for their chosen methods. The stage for the assassination was Prince Yusupov's opulent Moika Palace in St. Petersburg, a sprawling estate that provided ample nooks and crannies for a clandestine operation. The date? The night of December 29, 1916. Yusupov, known for his lavish parties and theatrical flair, invited Rasputin to his palace under the guise of meeting his beautiful wife, Princess Irina, who was conveniently away that evening. A classic honey trap, if ever there was one. According to Prince Yusupov's widely publicized memoirs, his masterpiece of self-aggrandizement, he led Rasputin down to a specially prepared cellar, complete with bearskin rugs and crucifixes, for a late-night supper. The menu? Madeira wine and an array of cakes, all heavily laced with enough potassium cyanide to dispatch several men. Yusupov waited, heart pounding, for the poison to take effect. And he waited. To Yusupov's horror, Rasputin consumed the cyanide-laced treats and wine with gusto, showing no ill effects whatsoever. No foaming at the mouth, no collapsing, just cheerful chatter and a request for more. Yusupov, utterly unnerved by this apparent miracle, excused himself and returned to the waiting conspirators, who were reportedly just as astonished. What kind of man could shrug off such a dose of poison? Determined to finish the job, Yusupov returned to the cellar with a heavy revolver. He found Rasputin mesmerized by a crucifix. With a prayer, Yusupov fired, striking Rasputin in the chest. Rasputin collapsed, seemingly dead. The conspirators, relieved, went upstairs to celebrate. But wait, it gets weirder. Days later, after Rasputin's body was recovered from the Neva River, an official autopsy was performed by Dr. Dmitry Kosaratov. And what he found directly contradicted almost every traumatic detail Yusupov had so vividly recounted. First, the cyanide. The autopsy found absolutely no trace of poison in Rasputin's stomach. None. Zero. The unkillable monk hadn't miraculously shrugged off cyanide. He simply hadn't ingested any significant amount. Next, the drowning. Dr. Kosaratov's report definitively stated that there was no water in Rasputin's lungs, meaning he was dead before he ever entered the icy river. So much for the legend of him struggling against his bonds underwater. And the bullets? The autopsy confirmed Rasputin had been shot, yes, but only 3 times. One shot to the left side of his chest, another to his back, and a third fatal shot to the forehead. But if there was no poison, and he was already dead before the river, then Yusupov's entire dramatic account of Rasputin's superhuman resistance and his own panic heroism was, well, entirely fabricated. So what really happened that night? This is where Vladimir Purishkevich, the ultra-conservative Duma deputy, steps in with his own equally dramatic yet strikingly different version of events, because of course he wanted credit too. Purishkevich claimed that after Yusupov had supposedly shot Rasputin and the conspirators were celebrating, Yusupov returned to the cellar only to find Rasputin very much alive, lunging at him like a wild animal. Rasputin then allegedly escaped the cellar and fled into the palace courtyard, shouting, "Felix, Felix, I will tell everything!" It sounds like a line from a particularly over-the-top melodrama, doesn't it? It was Purishkevich, he insisted, who heard the commotion, ran out into the courtyard, and fired several shots at the fleeing monk. He claimed his first two shots missed in the darkness and the swirling snow. But his third and fourth shots, Purishkevich maintained, were expertly aimed. One struck Rasputin in the back, dropping him to the ground. The final shot, he recounted, delivered the death blow to Rasputin's head. So, we have two eyewitness accounts. Yusupov says he fired one shot, Rasputin died. Purishkevich says Rasputin came back to life, ran, and he, Purishkevich, fired multiple shots, delivering the final blow. Both can't be entirely true, especially given the autopsy. But here's where the story takes a fascinating turn, away from the self-serving memoirs and towards forensic science. The autopsy, remember, found 3 bullet wounds, not just 1 or 2. Later ballistic analysis, conducted years after the fact and supported by declassified intelligence documents, revealed something truly unexpected about those 3 bullet wounds. The first 2 shots, the chest and back wounds, appear to have come from the same type of weapon, likely a revolver consistent with what Yusupov or Purishkevich might have used. But the third bullet, the one to the forehead, that bullet was of a different caliber, a .455 Webley to be precise, and that weapon was standard issue for the British Secret Service agents operating in Russia at the time. This introduced the compelling third bullet theory that a British Secret Service agent, likely Oswald Rayner, was present at the Moika Palace that night and delivered the fatal shot to Rasputin's forehead. Why would the British be involved? Rasputin was seen by the Allies as a pro-German influence, urging Tsar Nicholas II to withdraw Russia from the war, which would have been catastrophic for the Allied effort. This could have been a preemptive strike. If true, it paints a far more sophisticated and international picture of the assassination than the bumbling, dramatic efforts described by Yusupov and Purishkevich, which then begs the question, why all the lies? The motives behind the widespread contradictions and exaggerations are complex, rooted in prestige, politics, and the desire to protect reputation. These were noblemen who saw themselves as heroes. Yusupov, in particular, crafted a narrative that made him the central, heroic figure, overcoming an almost supernatural foe. This version sold books, secured his legacy, and gave him a certain mystique in exile. Purishkevich, likewise, wanted to be seen as a decisive man of action. The idea that Rasputin was so hard to kill that it took his swift intervention to finally fell the demon bolstered his political standing. Perhaps they also needed to cover up the embarrassing incompetence of their original plot, the failed poisoning, the initial shot that didn't kill, and the chaos that followed. It's much easier to claim victory over a supervillain than to admit you bungled it. And if there was indeed foreign involvement, like the British Secret Service, then downplaying or entirely omitting that detail would have been a matter of extreme political sensitivity, perhaps even treasonous if revealed publicly. Even with these theories, lingering shadows remain and many questions still don't add up. For instance, the autopsy report noted signs of blunt force trauma to Rasputin's body, indicating he may have been severely beaten before his death. Neither Yusupov nor Purishkevich mentioned a bludgeoning. Was this another detail omitted to preserve their image as clean assassins? Or was there another, unseen participant who inflicted further violence? And how exactly did the body, already dead and presumably heavy, end up in the river, especially without any signs of struggle or even a trail in the snow from the palace to the riverbank? The timeline of events, the sequence of the shots, the removal of the body, it's all riddled with gaps, inconsistencies, and inconvenient truths that were smoothed over by self-serving narratives. It's like a crime scene where all the witnesses are lying. Ultimately, because of the conflicting self-serving accounts and subsequent historical obfuscation, Rasputin's death is truly an unsolved historical cold case, a murder witnessed by multiple people, yet no one can agree on how it actually happened. The legend of the Mad Monk's impossible death persists because it's a far more compelling story than the messy, embarrassing reality of a botched assassination. It's more thrilling to believe in the unkillable than the merely incompetent. But the truth, or what scraps of it we can piece together, is buried deep under layers of political posturing, human unreliability, and plain old vanity. The official records don't help, they only complicate things further. The enduring mystery of Rasputin's death isn't just about a mad monk or bumbling killers. It's a testament to how easily eyewitness accounts can be manipulated, how quickly legends can overwrite facts, and how even a witnessed murder can remain an impossible cold case when the witnesses can't even agree on the color of the sky, let alone the number of bullets. History, it seems, can be as unhinged as the characters within it. And this is just one story among countless mysteries history left behind. Subscribe, and let's keep uncovering them together. And if this one got you thinking, a like or a share helps more curious minds find it.